One of my favorite feelings that I feel like could only come from a specific type of video game is when you get thrown into a very weird and foreign world and the rules are ambiguous as hell. I mean, the type of games that give you very little information, at least formal information, when it comes to mechanics and the lore and the world building. I always wanted to take it a step further and try to find a game that could like almost emulate what my daughter goes through on a daily basis in terms of understanding her own world and unraveling the things around her. And somehow, some way, I think the closest I gotten to it was a game about skating as a demon made of glass and paint. This year has been jam-packed. I mean, we had Silk Song and Expedition 33, which I promise I'll play eventually. Yet one of the most standout and memorable experiences in the medium has been Skate Story, by Sam Ing. I hope I'm saying that correctly. My name is Squid Ride, and just like this deck that you can find within the game itself, no AI or virtual shortcuts were used in development of this video or YAP. We're definitely going to try to keep this video less about what actually happens throughout the story and more of the feelings that it invoked. Like, obviously the first thing you're going to notice is the art style. I feel like this is the antithesis of the type of skate games that we have seen in recent years, specifically the remakes of the Tony Hawk games, which that is about as far as my experience when it comes to playing skating games. I never really got into Skate or Session or anything else that starts with an S. I didn't keep track. Now, from a mechanical standpoint, you got all your basics of a skating game. You got your different ways to perform tricks and stances and reverts and manuals, and you want to make fat old combos to get a whole bunch of whopping points. But there's a little bit of a twist in this one. See, this one does have its fair share of boss fights where you're going against moons, and the type of tricks and combos you perform dictate how much damage you do against them. And whenever you receive damage from the various obstacles those moons put in your way, you have to skate to heal yourself. I think that's where I got misled with the game. Is I played the second boss fight and I thought it was going to be a lot more skate combat, if that makes sense. You know, there's these elements of having to do specific tricks to cut down specific plants, and you get awarded points for it. I feel like bailing typically in other skating games is like centered around the spectacle of the violence. This is more capturing the suddenness of the situation. You know, when you hit a pebble, the fact that you're a demon made of glass, that really captures the theme of fragility, which I'm not sure if that extends to the narrative or the characters you meet along the way, but you definitely feel it when you hit a wall. Though mostly linear, the game does have these free roam sections that let you dictate how fast you finish a level and in turn the game. You can probably beat the game within a day, but I'll still stick to early game footage until the end section of this video to keep it relatively spoiler free. The controls for the game definitely feel tactile and tight, and I felt relieved when I saw footage of Sam using a tech deck. That same catharsis of timing your flick perfectly on these little things were effectively simulated while controlling the skater. Instead of overcomplicating the system that you use to actually pull off the tricks, the challenge comes from not shattering your glassy body. Complemented by some excellent audio design, the grounded aspects of skating actually had me asking my niece if she still had her board at our Christmas gathering. Whereas the Tony Hawk series felt more lighthearted and bombastic in the things they let you get away with in a very realistically presented game, I feel like this game was more focused on capturing the beauty of skateboarding in its effort to create really realistic skating mechanics, but set in a wacky and beautiful fantasy world. Honestly, shoutouts to Devolver for bringing these type of experiences to console. That's ballsy, dude. See, Sam and I got into skating for similar reasons, which wasn't for going into vertical jumps or doing crazy tricks. It was more for the purpose of getting from point A to B in a city just like this. And I feel like the game's portal sections, where you're infinitely going from portal to portal and not being stopped by like imaginary boundaries or invisible walls, I feel like this was the best representation of urban skating, where your path could feel virtually endless and vast in the city. Whereas the free roam sections feel more like hitting a local meetup spot or a skate park. Though very New York coded, the game's vibe made me feel like I was in a cozy version of my own hell of Chicago. In an interview, Sam did say he was going for a vibe of those old school fisheye lens skate vids, the handheld camcorder following along, yada yada, but smashed up against these crazy avant-garde and synthwave looking visuals. I think the game does a really good job at capturing this feeling of skating in the city in the middle of winter, which is physically impossible, mostly, on a skateboard at least. Like in terms of the lighting and the dude's wearing a scarf and you got ashes or snow or whatever this is falling all the time in the city. One of my favorite feelings throughout was as if I was controlling a music video, which is absolutely heightened by Blood Culture's phenomenal music soundtracking most of the story sections. This is another amazing aesthetic choice since their lush synth-pop sounds contrast your usual punk rock or hip-hop skate game tracks, lending further to the mood of the overall experience. This was actually the first time I got exposed to a good amount of their catalog, other than their one song called Set It On Fire, which if you have beaten the game, you know why that was super cool for me. Sam stated that Blood Culture sampled the actual sounds of New York City, which only adds further to the city rat aesthetic that they were chasing after. I think that only expands on the childlike wonder that I experienced, at least when playing the game. See, if you listen to Blood Culture's music, you'll hear a lot of these ambiguous vocal chops where it's kind of difficult to tell what the lyrics are saying, and it is boosted even further with these very high-pitched croons. Me personally, it really brought me back to these last few years of listening to my own daughter develop her own speech. Also, shoutouts to John File for composing the music that plays during the open world sections, and for also giving me permission to use those very same songs in this video. I think this direction reminded me of being young in the city, especially taking the subway with my mom as a kid, whereas everything just kind of felt like an ambiguous blur, and this was like only emphasized in the second depth, where all the pedestrians are literal scribbles walking around in the city. I feel like this simplification is something that us kids do when we're young, and maybe something my daughter still does just to make sure that they don't get overwhelmed. I mean, like, sure, it looks cool and it does serve plenty of aesthetic purposes, but once you dig deep into the final act of the game and a lot of the stuff that Sam's trying to say within the little loony world that he's built, a lot of those decisions do make a lot more sense. One of my favorite decisions is the fact that the main menu decides to show the skateboard that you customize, which is a reflection of the fact that even though this story was written through the lens of Sam and his experiences while developing the game, it does a really good job at putting the story in your hands. I think for the same reason, they don't give the skater a name and just call it the skater. True to the title of the game, the story is framed out almost like a children's story, making the narration feel a lot more natural and a lot less gamey. Even this kinda absurd but ever-present goal of eating the moon allows for more organic reasons for these strange side characters to exist. Rather than being soulless quest givers or living checklists, I felt for these characters who seemed like they were just doing what they can or had to do in this place made to punish souls. I absolutely adore the idea of putting wacky characters in everyday situations. It's like a very modern type of sense of humor, and it's done very well in this game. It's like throughout the story, you're getting hit with these crazy moments of existential contemplation, and then out of nowhere, bam! It's just skating noise. There were mention of Sam's daily endeavors and the feelings they provoked making it into the levels, so I wonder if this dynamic was to capture the peace that simply hearing those wheels roll could bring, while also being cheeky commentary on keeping your mental momentum. I feel like that's the type of experience that is only elevated by the medium itself. Like, taking away the interactivity and only keeping the spectacle of the visuals definitely dilutes the theme of perseverance. Like, it's very clear throughout the story that your character is not swayed by the bureaucracy of anything. He's like the Doom guy of skateboarding, just kind of there to do his job, and I don't know, I find it kind of charming that it's like something that we all kind of strive to work towards, you know, just being good at doing the thing without giving it second thought. I perceived a lot of these moments as a personal memoir about not just making this game specifically, but any piece of art in general. I think it's for the same reason the challenge does definitely ramp up over the course of the campaign, and the most impactful cutscenes here take advantage of the emotions the player felt in the moment-to-moment gameplay. Which is why I made the Platinum Trophy feel so painful. 10,000 tricks? What the hell, Sam? Alright, we'll talk about those last few chapters. I still don't know exactly how to interpret the final moments of the game. if we were supposed to get the experience of being in Sam's head, brother, I feel you. I don't think that it's ironic that Sam decided to portray his version of New York as the underworld or a portrayal of hell. In an interview when asked what was his biggest obstacle throughout development, Sam stated himself. I ponder how many of the opposing elements in the game were influenced by real life, like how sleep being outlawed could be a play on Sam's experiences, or even crunch culture in gaming. Could have also just been a flex saying like, hey man, my character's still cool, it could perform well and it's just inside a blank, empty, gray box. With plenty of collectible goodies along the way, that kind of led me down this rabbit hole of all these unsolved questions. For example, what are these notes? Why are these doors locked and never seem to open? These weird windows, apparently, that grant me currency that aren't part of any other portion of the game and are only available in Depth 6. And Sam, we need some answers! I haven't spent as much time with the game recently where I just had this big old dumb goofy smile on throughout. It manages to carry this warm milky nostalgia that really makes you long to exist in a place that doesn't. That's right guys, New York isn't a real place. I think the game is great. It launched for free on the PS Plus catalog day one, so go hit some pop shovets, grab some bile tea for the homies, and maybe try not to cry too much afterwards.